Hello everybody, Giltar here with another review of a plastic model kit. This will be a two-part review where I'll cover in the first part accessories, articulation, and some sculpt details. And then in the second part of my review I'll go over sort of some final thoughts, definitely on some of the sort of pros and cons of this kit. Now this model is of the A4-1 Falke from Full Metal Panic. I haven't read any of the manga or light novels or watched the anime, so I don't really know anything behind the fiction of this franchise line, the Mode Lock line, which is kind of like an economy-priced model kit line. I think they're normally ranging in the $8 to $9 American dollar range. I got this one on sale from Hobby Link Japan and it's now actually on sale for 60% off. And I bought it during the Black Friday sale, which got me an additional 25% off. So I got a really good deal on this. I probably ended up paying like $2 American for this model kit. Now in terms of scale, it's about the size of an average 1 to 144 scale high-grade Gundam model kit. It's not huge, but it's not tiny either. I'll just remove actually the box now to show you the completed model. It's certainly a nice looking model. It has a striking design. Now, as I mentioned in the preview video, or if you're already aware of it, this is a model kit that, while it doesn't require cementing or gluing to assemble, it's all snapped together, it does require paint. It comes cast in an all black ABS plastic, so it's very very hard to see all the details, but in person it actually doesn't look bad. Under normal lighting conditions, the details of the panels and surface markings and such are fairly good. The panel lining is the grooves are fairly deep, and so as long as you have decent light and it catches, you can see the details, but it doesn't really do the design justice until you get a paint scheme going to give some contrast. Now in terms of accessories, it comes obviously with this reverse bladed sword. I believe it's called an IMI monomolecular cutter, crimson edge from what it says on the wiki for Full Metal Panic for the Falke's listing. That sword actually is pretty sharp. It's not sharp as in the edge, but it has a really keen pointy tip, so be careful with it. You don't want to stab yourself. It could definitely draw blood, but at the same time, because it's plastic, it's not meant to be that durable, so you could damage and break the sword tip unless you're careful. Now you'll see this sort of ball section, this ball joint. It actually attaches to the hand, which has a socket area, and you just clip it in, and that little click is just the ball going to the socket. Now it comes with 4 hands in total. I have it using one of these sort of ball socket joint hands in the right hand, and the left hand, in the left hand it has a standard sort of fully formed fist. Now because these models are sort of the cheaper economy class models, this fist accessory, this is the left fist, it's just a pure block. You see like sculpted finger lines and such, but that's it. It has a little hole in the center on the side where the fingers are. I don't know what that's for. I don't know if it's just a part of the process of molding this plastic part, or if it's meant for a future accessory. So that's the sort of block fist accessory. And then this is the socket fist, which the model comes with these ball joint thumb attachments, and as you can see, it looks decent from a distance, but once you get up close it looks kind of clunky. But that's the thing, is like these are not models that are meant for close scrutiny. Part of the problem with the model, and I'll get into it now, is that it's actually touted and marketed as a highly posable model, because all these joints in the limbs and the body are ball joints. I'm actually finding that for certain parts of the model it is pretty darn posable. In other parts it's actually hindered by the mecha design and not the model design. So it's kind of the concept design is fighting the actual end result product as at least in this version, as a plastic model kit. Now speaking of articulation, I'll just get this sword out of the way. Let's move on to that. Now the legs are fairly standard in terms of the knees bend this far back, about 90 degrees. Can't really bend forward any. The feet are on ball joints for the ankle, so you can get your typical forward and back wiggling side to side movement. And the ankle armor can actually move around too, but because of the way that all these armor pieces seem to sort of collide with each other and clash, it's hard to really rotate it, and you don't really need to, but I just wanted to mention that. Now, the good thing about the ankle and leg articulation, the range of motion, is that you can get about this far and keep the soles of the feet flat on a surface, so that's good for like sort of wide-legged action stances. Unfortunately, because of the way that the upper thighs are, there's armor pieces or an armor piece that you attach on the front, it really gets in the way, so that if you try to do a forward kick, you can only get about this far with some difficulty. So that's really good, but it's just you have to struggle and move it around, and it's not it's not the best to to try to do those kinds of leg poses with it. Now actually I'm going to leave this leg or head antenna off for a moment. Or actually I'll leave it off for the rest of this part 1 of the review. Because of the back skirt armor, yeah, you can only go back this far, but because of the leg bend, I mean, you can get that much. That's great if you want to ever bend it like that. The torso is fine in terms of rotational ability at the waist. Goes 360 degrees with no problems, and none of the armor obstructs it. You'll notice actually in terms of proportions, it's got like pretty beefy, chunky legs in terms of the calves, the thighs, and the shoulders. The arms are alright, but it has a very wide shoulders, wide hips, and then a relatively slim chest. So some people may like it, other people might be put off by it. I think it's an alright design. I mean, pretty typical for robot designs. Actually, before I forget, and I'm going to mention that these calf armor segments are actually possess articulation. You can actually move them independently of the legs, and they sort of wiggle like sort of up and down. So I don't know what purpose they serve, if it's just a detailed design of the model, or if it's something actually from the design of the mecha from the fiction. So if anybody is a Full Metal Panic expert out there, just let me know, and correct me if I'm wrong or whatever. But I felt that it was a pretty neat little sort of movable detail. I like that. Now in terms of the arms, the shoulders can wiggle back and forth, up and down, and in fact the back part of the shoulder armor has a section that is actually you can bend. I don't know what purpose that serves, but you can bend it, so that's kind of neat. The shoulders themselves are, the shoulder armor rather, is on a ball joint. You can move it about that much, not a lot. The bicep is one section with a ball joint at the top, just below the shoulder, and one ball joint at just above the elbow. So you can get some interesting sort of posing like that. That's pretty neat. The elbows are also on ball joints like everything else on this model. And actually what's really interesting is the fist is on a ball joint, so you can bend it this far in. So that's kind of a awkward little pose. And then the elbows can, because of the way that the arm bends, you can get more than a 90-degree bend because you're moving the shoulders as well, but really, oh jeez. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in the second part when I talk about the pros and cons. Second part of the review. Now that's pretty much it for articulation, I believe. Yeah. Oh yeah, and the head as well can kind of, it can turn, but geez, it's just falling apart. But due to the way that the neck ball joint is, it's not actually a normal, typical ball joint with the ball in the center. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's actually the ball's off to one side, so that rather than being in the middle to allow full 360 rotational movement, because it's stuck on sort of on one side, you can turn the head, but that's about it. Unfortunately, that's a big problem of this model. I'm going to sort of get into that in part 2. So that's it for the accessories and articulation and the details. So that's it for this part. I'll see you in part 2. Thanks for watching.